Sky Squad, we are back in the building. And the question that I want to ask you guys is: was Quad being iced out, or did Quad ice herself out? That is the question that I posed to you guys. Now, I'm going to do this review a little bit different because I felt like it is, typically I go scene by scene and, we typically do it that way. And, I inject my little bit of theatrics and stuff like that. But I just felt like because this episode was so pivotal, I felt like it was a really big turning point, and therefore it was a really big episode. I just watched it. I didn't take notes. I just watched it. I wanted to feel it. And, I've watched the scenes over and over and over again in preparation for this review because I wanted to understand exactly what we were seeing on the screen. Because as I reviewed the episode, we only have 42 minutes. So I would be remiss if I said, oh, I wish that they had included all of these other things in there. But I do feel like there are some pivotal things that needed to be included in this episode that I would have preferred to see versus hear. Okay. And we'll talk about things as we go on through this sort of free flowing discussion about the episode, because I just kind of want to hit some points that I want to get your guys' opinion on. And I'm going to tell you what I think, and what I think could have been done maybe better to really fully explain this situation. I'm going to also touch a little bit on the live that Phaedra, Dr. Simone, Dr. Heavenly, and Toya did last night in response to this episode, as well as Quad's stance on this with regards to social media. All right. So the beginning of this episode, it's called Wine Country, and it's episode 6. We're on season 10, obviously. And you know what's funny to me? I was trying to rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10. And for me, I want to give it a 10. I really, really do. Because again, it is so pivotal when you really think about the history of Married to Medicine, where we are, what this means for the group, and what we're witnessing happen in front of our very eyes, which is pretty much the ousting of Quad. Now, again, I asked you guys at the beginning of this video, is she being iced out, or did Quad ice herself out? And I wonder if it could be a little bit of both. Um, let's talk about why I think that. The first scene that we see is with the core four, and that would be Toya, Dr. Simone, Dr. Jackie, and Dr. Heavenly. Now, the core four all seem to have their issues with Quad, and they all seem to have varying degrees of issues with her. And I wonder if the issues also should have or could have been handled separately. Now, Dr. Heavenly's issues with Quad, I thought that they had been resolved in the previous episode, or at least somewhat mitigated. And I also felt like maybe perhaps some of these issues versus being done in group settings could have also been done individually, i.e., what if Quad had taken some of the ladies out to dinner separately, or even made separate calls? Because what I now, as I look back on the scene that Dr. Heavenly and Phaedra and Quad had in, I think, the previous episode, this should have been a warning for Quad that you need to begin to make some of these relationships right. Because if you don't, girl, you ain't gonna have no job. Okay. That's now, looking back on it. Now I'm thinking to myself, oh, you should have been paying attention to the sign, baby. You should have been reading the tea leaves that Dr. Heavenly had laid out for you on a platter. Contact the girls, let them know that you missed them and how you gonna make it right. Now, Phaedra had offered Quad an opportunity to pop up out of a coffin, okay? Pop up out of a coffin like a jack in the box, and walk down the list of ladies and sort of maybe offer some level of apologies and a plan for making things right. And instead, it just turned into let's wipe this slate clean, ladies. And I'm back, you know what I'm saying, from outer space. And the girls were just not here for it. Now, when we look at this historical context for this reason, I mean, a lot of it, I think, for Dr. Jackie and Dr. Simone, and perhaps even for Dr. Heavenly, is the fact that, Quad sees these ladies as co-workers, or at least that's how it appears. And as co-workers, for me, I ain't gonna lie, when I was going to the 9 to 5, baby, I had that one or two good, how you have your little work wife, your little work husband or whatnot, that's your little person, you know what I'm saying? Your little people that you commiserate with and try to, take long lunches with, and you conversing with on a day-to-day basis. And you're usually locked in with each other via the trauma of just having to be there every day. You know what I'm saying? But once you leave that job, I mean, not sometimes you be like, deuces, okay? By work person, we're divorced now. Quad is giving that a little bit based on what we hear from the ladies. Like, when the season is off, Quad is out and she's down to the Africa, according to Dr. Heavenly, allegedly. And she is meeting the men's and doing the thing and traveling and living the best that life can offer. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? Because conversely, we've also seen and heard Melody from Love and Marriage Huntsville say something very similar. However, because Melody is such an integral part of that show for a lot of different reasons, it's not like y'all can't get rid of her. You know what I'm saying? And I do feel like also too, throughout this particular seasons, I think this past couple of seasons, we've seen her a lot more engaged with the cast. And maybe it's because she doesn't have to really have that much contact with Martell. But I digress, because that's a different scenario. It's a different show, and Quad is not a producer or a creator on the show. So having said that, and listen, having said that, the key element of reality television is relationships, right? We all know, if you don't have no relationships with nobody on the show, it's going to be very hard for you to stay on the show. And it sounds to me like Dr. Heavenly, Dr. Simone, and Dr. Jackie all feel like Quad basically dips, cuts them off when filming is over, and that's that. And Toya and Quad, they don't like each other, no way. So this scene with the core four in the beginning, I'm not gonna lie, it feels like we're gonna set this girl up to either pass or fail. Now, I know that sounds harsh, right? And by setup, I don't mean it in the way that I think Quad meant when she put up her post. I mean that we're gonna see, okay, this is her make it or break it chance. I feel like that's what they were saying in that scene as I reflect back. Like, girl, this is your last time. This is gonna be it for you if you can't come to the table correctly, okay? Because what we find out later, and I believe you would have had to probably watch. No, you wouldn't have. You would have just had to watch this episode to find out that even after that conversation that Dr. Heavenly had with Phaedra and Quad, that she still didn't hear nothing from Quad until Phaedra told her she was not going to invite her down to the Napa Valley for Toya's event. Okay. And then she come calling Dr. Heavenly saying, "Hey girl, who you bringing me to the event?" Now, I don't know if that's what was said or not, but that's what was implied. So during this conversation with the core four in the beginning, they basically are like, you know what, Quad is gonna have to who gonna invite the girl, okay? Because it's Toya's event. So I mean, I don't understand why Toya wouldn't invite her if you are indeed inviting her to the event. Like, somebody has to do the invite, right? Somebody has to do the evite. So the decision is almost like, okay, we're gonna invite her somebody invite her. Production cameraman, can you text her? Because Dr. Heavenly's like, well, let Phaedra bring her, because she been clicking up with Phaedra like they freaking frack. You know what I'm saying? She done left me in the dust. So Phaedra been inviting her to everything. Let her invite her. Now, see, this is where I'm taking a point away, because I was going to give this episode a 10, and now I might have to give it a 9. I would have needed to see. I needed to see this happen, because it was left very unclear, because Phaedra was oddly on mute when this came up later in the episode. But if Dr. Heavenly was leaving it up to Phaedra to invite her, when Phaedra told Dr. Heavenly she was not going to invite her because Phaedra didn't want to be caught up in the mess, because she did not want no mess with Toya, okay, because they had already been calling her messy because she had invited Quad to Sweet Tea's thing. She wasn't going to do that to herself no more, because she was not going to be in the middle of the drama no more, right? And so what I would have needed to see is Phaedra telling Quad that, because on the live last night, I think Phaedra said that she told Quad she was not going to be bringing her. But in the episode, it looked like, based on Quad's reaction, that she had no idea that that's what Phaedra had said. Now, Phaedra, being slippery as she may be, my thought was, go get, because later on she will say she forgot. She didn't know what time the flight was leaving. Girl, you got a whole butler. How don't you know what time your flight leaving? And it was a birthday party. You forgot. I mean, what is it? Okay, a businesswoman such as yourself, how do you not know when you're leaving for your flights, baby? You ain't got no assistants. Okay, what about Butler Bay? He not telling you when the flight is? I mean, I get a notification on my phone when it's time for me to check in for my flight at least 24 hours beforehand. So I don't know if she's not getting those same notifications, but I mean, they do tell you within 24 hours that you can board your flight, okay? Because you can do the online check-in, baby, especially if you're traveling. I mean, if you are spending $10,000 for your bags, I'm sure you're riding in first class. So I'm sure you also getting the text message alerts to let you know when your flight is, okay? So for me, I'm like, no, what's the T, Phaedra? That I needed to see Phaedra tell Quad that she was not going to invite her. I need to see it, because ultimately what they do on the live is they tell us, well, it was a producer, okay? The producer invited Quad. So when she does show up, it's mad awkward. It gives the feeling of, girl, we don't even want you here, because didn't nobody even want to bring you. So that's what I mean by some of this is feeling like, as if you are just watching the episode like a setup for Quad to either pass or fail. And again, setup is probably not the right word. It was probably like her last, the last straw. Girl, is you can come here and humble yourself, or is you not? You know what I'm saying? And if you not, then you can get on. Because everybody tired of you, okay? Now, some of this also sounds like, I don't know this to be true, but this is what I would imagine, okay, if it were me. I tell y'all, not all the time, but I do talk about this periodically, okay? When I first started modeling, now I don't consider myself no type of model or nothing like that, because I think I look like an alien. However, Commodore at the time when I was younger, the one thing that they tell you when you go to when I started with that agency, because they did a lot more, it wasn't more like runway stuff, it was more like industrial stuff, for like organizations and stuff like that. They tells you when you go to set, you go there, you take a book, you be easy to work with, you arrive early, you do your job, and you leave, okay? And you be pleasant and easy to work with. That has stuck with me throughout the ages, okay? And so for me, what I'm wondering is, for somebody who would potentially show up halfway through filming, or at least weeks into filming, to still negotiate a contract that may not, according to Dr. Heavenly, have been altered, okay, or in any way, shape, or form renegotiated in the way that you would have wanted, then you could be looked at as a difficult person to work with. That's what it sounds like it could be. And if you're difficult to work with, I'm sure you guys note this. Why would you want to work with that person? Okay. So Dr. Heavenly said it in the live with Phaedra and with Dr. Simone and Toya. If you don't show up to work for 4 weeks at Smiles by Dr. Heavenly, you gonna get to get on, okay? If you cussing and fussing out the people in charge, you gonna get to get on. So with that analogy in mind, it leads me to suspect that potentially Quad could be difficult to work with in that way. Now, I don't know this to be true, but what I do know is business, okay? And especially the entertainment business, if you are difficult to work with, they will find a way to not work with you, okay? So if you're difficult to work with and you're difficult to work with like behind the scenes and in front of the camera, oh Lord, it's a wrap. And you ain't doing yourself no favors by being extra friendly with people until you need them. Okay, that's what the situation is giving. Okay, but I have to. The problem that I have with with coming to this conclusion is that I have to put the pieces together from social media, Dr. Heavenly's lives. We got to be in the mix and in the bushes and in the weeds and jumping over the creek. You know what I'm saying? I got to dig into the dirt to find that out. Because just watching the episode, like I said, it looked like don't nobody want her there no way. Okay. You know, Toya don't want her there. Now, listen, I like Toya this season. Well, first of all, Toya is sexy, ain't she? But the other thing that I was gonna say is I just feel like Toya don't care to be bothered with her. I don't feel like Simone care to be bothered with her. I don't think Dr. Jackie care to be bothered with her. And I feel like Dr. Heavenly, in my opinion, has done the most to try to make opportunities on this platform for Quad by either getting into it with her like they do. It seemed like they just naturally do that. And it has provided entertainment value, but not enough to keep you. Okay. So there's that. So I felt like this meeting between the core four was really like, girl, we're gonna put this thing together. We're gonna invite her. We're gonna make it okay for her to be there, but we're not gonna invite her. So that's the other thing that kind of like makes it feel like do y'all really want her there anyway? Like, because there was a lot of talk on the live about, oh, well, this needs to be a thing for Toya, and yay, Hercules. You know, we need to conduct ourselves accordingly. And I'm like, well, I mean, I know they tend to get into things on this particular cast, but I can't imagine that it would be in such a way that it would reflect negatively on Toya's business. And haven't her business partner seen the show? Okay, so I just kind of felt like that is an excuse to me. So if you are going to invite her, but really not invite her, you're not really even creating the space for her to feel comfortable, even if you say that you want her to feel comfortable or want to give her this opportunity. But again, I say the caveat to that is that Quad has to do her part too, right? Because I'm sure at this point they could all take her or leave her. So there's that. Now, again, there's behind the scenes stuff that goes on. You know, Phaedra is not gonna bring her. We don't see that. We're told that later. And as soon as Phaedra got off the phone with her, Phaedra called Dr. Heavenly, told Dr. Heavenly she wasn't gonna bring him because she didn't want to be caught up in the mess. Quad then calls Dr. Heavenly, hey girl, what's tea? Who you gonna invite me or not? Or whatever like that. I don't know if that's what she said, like I said before. But I would have needed to see that because that would have informed me of the type of person that they are saying that Quad is, right? Especially when Dr. Heavenly lays that smackdown on her at the end. Because Dr. Heavenly, I mean, there's a baby. There is and she posted it on her page. There's a meme of Dr. Heavenly driving a bus, and somebody says she drove all over Dr. Simone, Phaedra, Dr. Jackie, and everybody. Because when she laid that smackdown on her, she said basically, Jackie said you was using me. I think you're using me. Phaedra didn't want you to be here. And baby, I felt like Dr. Simone led the charge, but it was Dr. Heavenly that came in at the end and basically swept Quad up like a dust bunny. So there's some stuff going on with Simone and the kids. She's getting them a home, and she's got rules for them. All the girls are getting ready to go to the Napa Valley or whatever like that. Dr. Heavenly and Sweet Tea get into it a little bit, but that's kind of squashed relatively easily. They get to the place. I mean, it looks really, really nice. And I feel like even when they get there, there's no room for Quad to stay because Toya, being the host, does not know whether Quad is coming or not. So it's like, why invite the girl if you're not going to even make space for her? So they end up having to try to force her on Dr. Alicia only because she's so new. And Dr. Alicia, I don't know why, just acquiesces, maybe just because she's the new girl and Simone kind of pushed it on her. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like you guys are creating anything like you're not creating a space for her really, because when Quad does arrive, she arrives to a very frosty reception. I mean, it's kind of like going to a place where don't nobody like you, and maybe you got maybe like one or two friends there. Like, who wants to be in that environment? So it's not. I don't feel like the girls are creating a space for her, and I don't feel like she's created space for the girls. Okay, so it's a two-way street. Maybe they are responding to her, or she's responding to them. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? At this point, it's been 10 years in. I don't know. Okay. I see a lot of people out there saying that this is Quad's karma for what she did to Mariah. Um, I That's a difficult one for me because I feel like Mariah had her own issues with the ladies, and Mariah had her own issues with Quad. I don't think that it helped Mariah any that she had those issues with Quad. But I don't know. I feel like there's a much deeper thing there with Mariah that I still haven't quite figured out myself because I would love to see her still on the show. But that's neither here nor there at this point. I just kind of wanted to address that because I do see that a lot in the comments. And maybe it's just my remembrance is off about Quad being as instrumental as people are making her in Mariah not being back on the show, right? I think again, Mariah not being on the show is a lot deeper than what we are able to actually see. We may never know the true genesis for that. But um, what I can say is when Quad arrives, I felt like the reception was chilly, but I also felt like Quad don't help herself none. You know what I'm saying? When Toya tells her girl, I didn't know you was coming. I ain't got no room for you. Awkward. Quad, when Toya does tell her, well, we did find your room. Quad's like, well, girl, what hole in the ground did you put me in? And it's kind of like, ain't y'all got to be able to meet each other in the middle in some way, shape, or form. Did anybody tell Quad that this was her last stand? I don't think nobody told her that. I don't. Um, yeah, it's really given the girls are tired of her. That's what it's given. Whatever she's doing or not doing outside of what we know to be true of her not really reaching out to them and being integrated. And honestly, I feel like a lot of this goes back to her days when she was on Sister Circle and she kind of it was a real big rift at that point in time. And I don't know if they ever really all recovered from that. I just to kind of give you guys, I don't know what y'all think. Anyway, and I would have done this live. I really would have done this live, but I get so easily distracted by the comments, and I don't want to change my thoughts or my feelings about this, especially because I know I'm going to watch Carlos King and Dr. Heavenly, and they're going to fill in the blanks for us. I wanted to give you my honest after the show feedback, right? Just how I felt. And listen, however anybody feels is how you feel. I think anybody's feelings are valid. There was a lot of things that were said, especially by Dr. Simone on the live last night, about how, because people were calling them out, making it seem like they were the mean girls, icing Quad out of the show. And Dr. Simone had a lot of, snazzy things to say about those people who felt like that. And to that, I also say, we're only able to base our opinions off of what we see on the show. You can't blame people for feeling like how they feel because they may not be putting together everything in the same way that a lot of us are, right? So it took me pulling all of these pieces together and going to the different sites and social medias to put together what I think could be the case versus also how it looked to the casual viewer, right? So, having said that, when Quad does arrive at the dinner, all the HE double hockey sticks breaks loose. Dr. Simone starts it off by saying basically this: we don't really feel that you are connected with the group. And you know, what has changed for you? Why would you it sounded to me like she was saying, well, why are you even here if you think if you don't feel like this is a safe space for you? What has changed today that would make you even come here? It really gave, I don't want you to be here no way, and I don't need you here. I mean, to me, it gave that. And again, Quad ain't do herself no favors when she told them she don't have no emotional attachment to them. I was like, Quad, now you can't read the tea leaves in the pot, okay? Baby, you can't, babes, you can't read you can't read between the lines. You ain't got no room at the end. Your girl Phaedra ain't even want to bring you. Dr. Heavenly didn't want to bring you. I mean, at a certain point in time, you got to be able to stop and say, ooh, I might need to do something a little different. You know what I mean? I mean, because at the end of the day, you gotta, in order to play this game on reality television, you have got to be participatory. And the thing that we see on Married to Medicine is that there are some genuine friendships here. I feel like Dr. Simone and Dr. Jackie, they have that bosom buddy friendship. Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Jackie have that bosom buddy relationship. It seems like Toya and Simone have a bosom buddy relationship. Now, is that out of convenience or is that real? I don't know. Um, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they seem like they might be cooler than Quad and the rest of them. Okay. The only person that I felt like it would have that Quad would have had that with would have been Phaedra, and even that to me in this episode appears to be strained. Okay, because Dr. Simone likes the match, Quad stokes the flames, but baby, it's Dr. Heavenly that makes the bomb explode. Okay, because Dr. Heavenly is basically like, look, I feel like you using me. I feel like when Phaedra wasn't gonna bring you down here, you called me. I was your second choice, and I don't appreciate that. And Phaedra, uh, and didn't you say that Phaedra couldn't be? It was disgusted, busted, and couldn't be trusted either. Okay, didn't you tell us that? Didn't you tell us that Phaedra wanted to try to date Dr. G, but Dr. G couldn't afford that $4,000 per month payment that Phaedra was demanding? And Quad then says, yes, I was told that he wanted to do that. Okay, I was told that Phaedra wanted $4,000 per month, and Phaedra in her confessional is like, my purse has cost $10,000, $4,000. What's that's gonna do me? But in my mind, I'm like, Phaedra, say something in the scene, and maybe she did. Maybe she did. Okay, but Phaedra has distanced herself so much, and what I needed to see that they talk about in the live was one of the reasons why Phaedra had distanced herself so much from the Quad and the group situation was because apparently that funeral repast was really bad. We did not see apparently a tenth of how bad it was. Again, things I need to see. Some of these episodes, they probably need to be an hour and a half long. We need the uncensored version on the Peacock. Where is it at, Bravo? Where is it at, Peacock? Where is it at, NBC Universal? Where it at? Okay. These are things that would help inform us as to why Phaedra made such a switch, because just watching the episode, it just looked like Phaedra just up and switched up on Quad. Okay, it really did, without a proper explanation, because she was quiet as a church mouse at that dinner. And then, interestingly enough, Quad goes in on Phaedra in her confessional, talking about, well, we know the reason why you here. Well, are you trying to make it seem like you brought her here? No, girl, because at the end of the day, I mean, unless they know something that we don't know, it seemed like Phaedra was here, signed on and ready before you signed on and was ready. Okay. And it honestly, truth be told, it feel like Phaedra blew the budget. Okay. And so down, I don't know if they had the budget for Quad. Okay, that's what it sounded like. Now they probably got the budget for Sweet Tea, because the Sweet Tea making what people make on their first season, that that ain't that much. But Quad, your salary might have been in jeopardy because of that Phaedra move. Okay, so I mean, I'm just looking at it from the business perspective of what I think could be happening. Okay, um, and so then Dr. Heavenly reveals that yes, even Dr. Jackie had told me that you've been using me. Okay. And they get to going at it, baby. And it shocked me because well, it didn't shock me because Dr. Heavenly had posted on her Instagram yesterday that this was not a fun episode for her. She cried and all kinds of things like that. So I just kind of feel like, ooh, I knew it was gonna be bad when I saw her write that up there. And I just feel like Qua was really left in that situation with zero allies. So it's not surprising to me. It did feel like this was the perfect. I mean, again, calling it a setup, I feel like is conspiratorial, and that's not how I feel. I feel like this was Quad's last stand, and she just didn't know it. And unfortunately, she was unable to pivot into what we know is necessary for a reality TV show to work. And that is what the other ladies seem to be more willing to do is to put in the work, the time, the effort, and communication that it takes to build authentic sounding, looking relationships on camera. And unfortunately, it seems as though Quad has unfortunately maybe iced herself out. But do you guys agree with that? Do you guys think that she iced herself out or they didn't create a warm space for her to work her way back in? It's a toss up. It's a toss up based on what we see from the episode. But when you look at the other pieces of the puzzle in the social media surrounding it all, it tells a much more complex story that I'm super interested in seeing how it plays out. And I'm super interested in watching to see what Dr. Heavenly has to say about this situation in her live with Carlos, because I have a feeling Carlos going to ask the questions and we going to get the answers because Dr. Heavenly don't miss her words. So with that being said, I will catch you all in the next video. This was a little bit of a different live for me, but I just felt like I really going through the scenes wasn't going to give me what I needed to get at today. And so much of this discussion was really surrounding Quad, which makes me also wonder, what are we going to do after the next episode when she's no longer there? What are we going to have to talk about? So, like I said, with that being said, I will catch you all in the next video.